For 9 days and 9 nights, Odin hung on the world tree Yggdrasil, with no food or no drink, wounded by his own spear. And on the 9th night he screamed and he grasped the runes. That is the famous story of how Odin got the power of the runes. We've talked about this before on this channel, and we've talked about it in a shamanic sense. Spending longer periods of time without food and drink in a sacred space and making yourself a sacrifice. That's still the case in some shamanic cultures. For instance, the Lakota Indians on Pine Ridge reservations in South Dakota, they still do this every year. They have a ceremony called the sundance ceremony, in which participants dance around a tree for 4 days and 4 nights without any food and drink. And on the 4th day, they are pierced in their chest with a deer skull, with like the antlers of a deer. And then they are lifted with ropes around the deer skull on the sundance tree. And then participants hang there until your flesh tears and you fall down to the earth again, and that's the end of the ceremony. So we talked about how this story is an Odin initiation ritual. And I want to thank somebody that I will name in the comments, because I already forgot your name, who tipped me off to this great little theory about that story about Odin finding the runes, about that there's actually more to it than initially meets the eye. This guy, whose name is in the description, told me that it's actually a story about reincarnation. Now, could this be true? That's a big question. These Nordic myths and these Germanic myths, there's so much more than meets the eye. There's so much meaning. Like if you take the example of the story of Skadi, the goddess of snow and skiing. Her story in the Nordic myths is that she married Njord, the god of the sea. But this marriage couldn't last. They couldn't get along, so she spent half year in the sea, half year in the mountain, half year in the sea, half year in the mountain. Does that remind you of anything? Yes. What you actually is being described in a mythological sense, symbolically, is the cycle of water. Snow is in the mountain, but it melts, so it goes to the sea. But it can't stay in the sea, so it needs to go back to the mountain again. So often what these tales can represent is natural cycles. So is this story about Odin and the runes about reincarnation? Well, the first thing you need to understand is, did our pagan ancestors believe in reincarnation? First of all, did our pagan ancestors believe that we have a soul? Yes, our ancestors believed that we have a soul, but it's a bit more complex. We just believe we have one soul. Our Germanic ancestors they believed that we have 3 parts in our soul. Vilkja, your spirit animal, your Hamingja, which is part of your family, and your, I'm getting Alzheimer, I know it, I'm forgetting the third one. Feel free to let me know in the comments, because I'm getting old. What it is, when you die, your Vlikja, which is your animal that represents you, also dies, because that animal is uniquely you. Your Hamingja is given to your family. But your third one, which I keep forgetting the name of, that's the one that reincarnates somewhere else. So our ancestors did believe in reincarnation. So is the story about Odin finding the runes also about reincarnation, and how? Well, let me explain. 9 days, 9 nights, hung on a tree. Okay. I don't know if you've ever witnessed childbirth, but the child comes out and there's something that comes with it, the placenta. The placenta feeds the child, but if you look up placenta in Google, for those who haven't witnessed childbirth, what you see, there's a marking on the placenta which looks like a tree. Looks like a large, beautiful tree every time. And it's what feeds the child. Now, how long does the child stay in the belly? Not 9 days and 9 months, but it is a 9. So our children, they hang for 9 months on a tree until they scream, "Ah!" and they grasp life. Does that mean that we're all descended from Odin? Well, yes, of course we're all descended from Odin. He is the All-Father. Does that mean that there's a part of Odin inside of us? Yes. Does that mean that the story about Odin finding the rune is about reincarnation? I'm not so sure. I think what it represents and could represent is birth and the grasping, the revealing of a new world. Because that's what Odin grasped when he grasped the runes, like Otala. So, what do you think? Is this theory right? Or am I full of shit? Please let me know in the comments. And I'll see you all next week. Ga met de goden. Later.